What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Crew 2, and in this video I'm going to take a look at the Ferrari F40 LM after the handling changes to the touring car class. It's kind of insane that this actually made such a big difference with this. There's going to be over 70 cars in this class, guys, and a lot of them definitely seem to be a lot better, so definitely stay tuned for a lot of these cars in the near future, like the Mercedes-AMG GT3. But nonetheless, is the Ferrari F40 actually going to be better than how it was? Overall, first impression, guys, I really can't see a lot better of a difference with many of these vehicles. I really do feel like this handling update is probably going to make them so much better. The F40 LM is actually going to have a top speed of around 255 miles per hour, which is definitely going to be up there for many of the touring cars. Now, it's not going to be the fastest thing out there. To be honest, guys, I really don't think it's going to hurt this car in any way, though. I was noticing the biggest thing about the F40 that I actually like about it is probably going to be the engine sound and the way this car actually sounds when it shifts. It sounds so dang good, and I would say a lot of players are going to love the sound of it, but obviously having a great sounding engine, it really is going to have to be backed up by great handling and or overall speed, because that's probably not going to be the best reason for a player to actually pick a vehicle, especially when it comes to the summits on the Crew 2 as well, because normally they're pretty dang intense, and you're probably going to want to pick a car that can actually do the best to its ability, and also score insanely high to get you into platinum and or keep you in platinum for that matter. I really do think the F40 is actually going to be pretty dang good. Do keep in mind, guys, it's also going to be a 5-speed. It does have that slight delay when shifting, so if you guys are in manual and or just in general overall speed with this car, you're most likely going to be slightly slower in some areas regardless of how fast you can shift it. I really don't think it's going to hurt it all that much though, because even in some of the events I was doing it with, it seemed to be doing just fine in most of the events that I was testing it out in. What's also kind of interesting, guys, I'm sure players have noticed this, the AI are also going to be updated similar to the Alpha GP class as well. I have been noticing on some of the events the AI are honestly kind of cracked, and I do think it's going to be a bit more challenging depending on the car that you do choose to run in these events. I would say the F40 is easily going to be fast enough if you guys do want to grind out parts, and if you did want to jump into like a summit, I do think the F40 is going to be good enough. Is it going to be the best new touring car in the game? To be honest, I would probably say no, but I'm also going to say it's not the worst car I've tested out so far in this handling update. I really do love the way the cars actually grip the ground now, and they feel so much more planted and or feeling a lot more responsive in certain areas, at least compared to before. I was noticing, guys, before this update that many of the touring cars are honestly not that fun to use. I do want to know your thoughts on this, by the way, in the comments below. Why do you guys think the touring cars are so much better now than they used to be? Obviously, the handling update is definitely going to make a difference, but it's kind of insane though, how just using the same model as some of the other cars definitely make these a lot more better. Similar to how like the Alpha GP cars are basically on the same handling model as the KTM Expo, and my goodness, they are so much better than how they used to be. So I do have a feeling we might start seeing a lot more of these touring cars actually pop up in different summits and or being used a lot more often than they used to be, because let's be honest, guys, before there was maybe like 3 or 4 cars that were actually being used. I would sometimes see the CCGT, and then there was basically no other car actually being used besides like the Super Trofeo and or the Renault. So I do think there's going to be better cars being used like the FXXK, and a lot of these cars are actually going to start popping up, and for all we know, we might even have new meta type of vehicles on the block as well, so I really can't wait to see what happens with this. I cannot wait to also test out some of these other vehicles and see how they do. Overall though, guys, I do have to admit the F40 LM is definitely going to be a great car overall. It's definitely not going to be the fastest thing out there with its overall speed, but of course the handling on this thing is definitely going to feel so much better, and I really do think a lot of players are going to love the sound of the engine in this thing.